And also in studio is the Honorable Mohammed Ado, who is the Wajir South Member of Parliament. And of course, we are focusing on the report by the finance that will be today discussed or debated in Parliament. That is the second reading. And as well tomorrow, then the voting will be taking place next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's according to the Finance Chair, Honorable Kuria Kimani. Now, I'm joined by Honorable Dr. Babu Owino, Embakasi East Member of Parliament. Good morning, Dr. Babu. Yesterday, we witnessed a young, energetic, resilient, peaceful, yet resilient young Kenyans coming out to the streets to demonstrate against the Finance Bill 2024 despite several amendments to it. What's your opinion on this? Is this a new revolution?
Thank you very much, Chacha. Good morning to my colleagues. I want to say, Chacha, that there's a new dawn in Kenya. You saw the dissatisfaction of Kenyans, not even being mobilized, came out to demonstrate because of the draconian finance bill that is giving birth to the high cost of living. And we know, Chacha, that there was a PR exercise at State House yesterday just to hoodwink us, and that strategy is called the decoy strategy. And the decoy strategy is always meant by people who don't mean well. What do? They fix certain clauses within the finance bill that they know that people will rebel. They are bad clauses. Then they also fix the worst clauses so that the moment they remove the worst clauses, they think that people will feel that they are now okay with the finance bill. But instead, the bad clauses will still pass and they get their way. I want to tell you that the government removing some of the taxes is not a favor to Kenyans because those taxes were going to injure Kenyans. If you talk about increasing taxes on imported goods, Chacha, Kenya imports 80% of any commodity that we are consuming, of goods that we are consuming, 80%, which means that as a nation, we are still not ready to manufacture. We don't have sufficient industry. Our production is low. The service industry in Kenya, which comprises banking, insurance, education, health, contributes 60% to our economy, while the agricultural sector, which is called the primary sector, which is agriculture and mining, contributes 19% to our economy, which means that we are not still ready. And if you look at the industry sector, where we have manufacturing having 9%, and we have construction having another 7%, and other industries. So it tells you that we are not ready with the domestically produced goods to sustain Kenyans. So therefore, increasing taxation for imported goods means that you are going to still increase the high cost of living. Kenyans, the burden of paying for this increment in taxes are going to be met by Kenyans. And that means that we are supporting what we call foreign absorption. Foreign absorption means that money leaks from our economy to other economies. The moment we consume imported goods, money is going to leave Kenya to other economies. Instead, the government should concentrate on domestically produced goods to promote what we call domestic absorption. Lastly, Chacha, the demonstrations that we witnessed yesterday was as a result of high cost of living and the draconian, the oppressive finance bill that has caused untold sorrows in the eyes of Kenyans. We saw very energetic young men and women coming out in numbers, driven by passion, driven by the yoke of responsibility to change this nation, which was resting on their shoulders, driven by rage. And I can assure you that more of these are going to happen. We are in support of these demonstrations. We want them to go on even on a daily basis until Ruto realizes that this country is not his personal property.
That is Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Babu Owino. He's also a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the National Assembly. Now, on the focus, of course, on what happened yesterday, that is the Gen Z protests, it caught the attention of the Azimio principal, Raila Odinga. And this is the specific clip that actually caught his attention. And Raila actually said that, "I'm a very proud father today. Hongera sana to the young lady and all those who bravely stood up for their rights." Let's view it.
Agwambo, this is a message to you. Usitoke, don't come. Agwambo, please stay at home. We saw your efforts, okay? We saw everything that you did for Kenya. Now let us. We miss you, but Agwambo, please don't even come outside. Don't come outside. Tunatoka on your behalf, okay? Agwambo, this is a message to you. Usitoke, don't come. Agwambo, please stay at home. We saw your efforts, okay? We saw everything that you did for Kenya. Now let us. We miss you, but Agwambo, please don't even come outside. Don't come outside. Tunatoka on your behalf, okay? Agwambo, this is a message.
Horrible CPA, Julius. That's the Gen Z protest.
Allow me to appreciate even the young girl on one thing, that we have a generation in Kenya that are fully aware of what is happening. Unlike the earlier generations where decisions were made on their behalf, it critically demonstrates that any decision, any policy, Kenyans are following keenly, and they would want to participate in ensuring that whatever it is being put in place, either through parliament or executive, is good for them. I mean, looking at globally how they came in by their own self and their own motivation. Whereas they were protesting on what I don't know why, because already issues they were raising, they would have waited for the report to come out before they move into the streets. I don't know what motivates them to create an impression.
But the protest began at around 12 noon?
Of course, at that time already even the report had come out. So I don't know why, but still, on my side, allow me to view the young Kenyans as you had called it, resilient, but even beyond there, that they are keen and they're excited to follow how the country is being run. On the other side, Joe, issues that are being raised, and I see Babu Owino is putting across, issues of, I don't know what irony are we talking about. When this regime was coming in, let's just look at the basic commodities and pricing, how it was. Look at the bag of hunger. Look at the bag of hunger. It was costing 240 shillings. That is what was transited to this regime. As we talk now, why can we appreciate that measures that have been taken, including the tax measures that end up building and reducing the burden, what we call absorption, what I like from the words of Owino, the foreign absorption, and ensuring that you domesticate production of key and basic needs of Kenyans. Now the price of hunger is down. What kind of irony do we talk when we have already seen the fruits of some of these decisions which were made earlier? So what I want to say is this: we have to have a balanced approach in ensuring that we deliver our country. And again, for how long are we procrastinating? We will remain procrastinating on the issues of industrialization and manufacturing, other than looking at the provisions and the amendments to this particular finance bill, which is seeking to create a space for local industrialization, utility of local materials. Of course, we have allowed also importation of raw materials, but ensure that we retain employment, because as it is now, Kenya is a net importer. Our trade balance is negative. Well, and as it is negative, it implies that whatever we are generating from our economy, we are supporting foreign economy. And this is why these policies are coming. Sometimes, let's be candid to ourselves, because we cannot keep like, oh, this is cost of living. As we keep on reducing our independence, we are reducing our space, we are turning our country into a trading zone for other countries. They keep manufacturing there for the purpose of consumption in Kenya. How long are we going to do this? Are we going to survive? So there's a point that we must share and give a small sacrifice so that we given time at glory.
Honorable Martin Owino, the young Kenyans came to occupy parliament. They actually organized these particular protests online through a hashtag reject finance bill. And the protests actually saw the light of the day. CBD was slightly paralyzed due to tear gas canisters that were thrown left, right, center by the police officers. And businesses were choked out of life. And that clip by the lady telling Raila, this time round, don't come out. Let us fight for our own rights. What do you make of it?
You know, that is where principles counts more than anything else. Because the principles of fighting for people, their rights, and doing the right thing the right time came from Baba. And that's why you see the Babalets coming out. And they're very brave, by the way. What went wrong? The other time we were in Brussels, and the farmers were rioting with all tinga-tingas. And the police just organize the traffic, how they can pass and express themselves. So these young people also wanted to express themselves. In fact, there's a statement that says, twice beaten, once beaten, twice shy. The problem we have, CPA Ruto, with the administration of KK is trust deficiency. Even if you say what, how sure are we that you're going to do it? When that comes, and people come out and they talk and you don't listen, then you escalate the matter. If you want, it's not, I mean, the problem is not that Kenyans are not paying taxes. The problem is government is using more than the taxes that comes in. It's wastage, there's corruption, that all that put together. And I was privately conversing with him. If we could focus on corruption and wastages. In African proverb, they say, if you want to know how to cut a tree, cut yourself. And even this came from them. Cut your coat according to the size of the cloth. All those died. So young people are having information, not as the ancient time that things happen in Nairobi and in the village and you don't know. Now we know everything, even as it happens. So my submission to this young ladies that keep on fighting. We have an administration that unfortunately round table is not sinking, so we have to go to the street, unfortunately. But even if we do, let them not beat us, let them exercise, let them leave us to exercise our right. Lastly, if you want more, subsidize. But if you want little, tax. If you want very little, tax more. There's no, across the global, there's no country that can grow its economy with overtaxing its citizens.
Just a minute. Quickly. Yes, quickly. I agree that as the young generation, we appreciate what they are doing. But, Joe, for the last 1 week, our phones have been jammed by a lot of texts, reject the finance bill. I attempted to engage some of these young people. The unfortunate part, though they have come from school, some of them are graduates, they have never even read the content of the finance bill. They are not even aware that this finance bill are trapped in clauses which affect some specific acts or amending specific acts. So I tried to engage one, and you know what? He recorded himself, a young boy, he start and trying to accuse and put all the blames on this thing without critically highlighting some key areas. I wanted to ask them, even if they are going to the streets, let them also try to seek information. This thing, it suggests that they are being misled or driven by somebody somewhere with a wrong messaging. Because if you stop them, even that girl, and ask you, which clause do you feel it is offensive in this particular, it's not going to put that. Lastly, the issues of subsidy, even the issues of bread. Joe, and I want to tell Kenyans, do you know the absence of taxing bread? It's also on the other side creating expenditure under tax expenses. As we talk now, bread alone attracts 12 billion that Kenyan government have to set aside from the budget so that they refund in what we call VAT refunds. So it is the same. Whether we don't tax, we are going to make sure that on the other side, we will do what you call opportunity costs, deny Kenyans another service so that we pay back the manufacturers of what it has been zero rated, because that the implication of zero rating VAT is saying that use the taxpayers' money to pay for the consumption of the consumers or of Kenyans on the other side. So it is also an expenditure. Thank you.
Honorable, young, new, energetic, and peaceful, yet they were tear-gassed, arrested. And I believe the Constitution allows picketing and demonstrations. Was this fair to them?
Well, before we get to the fairness of the protests, the way the government handled the protests, I would like to disagree politely with my colleague, Honorable Ruto, on the knowledge of the protesters about exactly what they're protesting about and then being misled by others. When we used to say people are being misled are long gone. This is the social media generation. Information is out there and people are following keenly. And I think the mistake the Kenya Kwanza government is making, and we have seen the window dressing they have done to the bill. Oh, we've removed this, we've removed this, we've removed this, you should accept it. That is not in the psyche of Kenyans. What Kenyans are against is not just more taxes on some, they are against more taxation, period. And when you see the children of middle-class Kenyans hitting the streets, that should send a very strong signal to our leadership at the national level that it's not business as usual, because the pain is being felt at every level of the Kenyan society. And what we know is it's the middle class that drives the economy. And now that they are feeling the pinch to the extent that their children are hitting the streets and protesting against these, what they are calling punitive taxes, and indeed they are, I just can't help but think about many countries I've covered where there have been revolutions. Sudan, where Omar al-Bashir, you know, a dictator, a military dictator of many, many years, was removed by young people, like the sort we saw on the streets of Nairobi yesterday.
So this is a strong message to President William
In Cairo, at Tahrir Square, it was the young people who drove that revolution. In Tunisia, in Yemen, mention all the countries. I'm not saying that we have a situation that's ripe for a revolution. But again, there is boiling anger that keeps on increasing by the day. And you cannot wish that away by saying they're being misled.
Well, and actually several of them were arrested, and now we are joined by Ernest Cornelis, the communications officer at the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Good morning. Just an update of how many young Kenyans were arrested during yesterday's demonstrations, and of course also how many were injured in the process, and have they so far been released by the police?
Thanks, Chacha. So, yes, during yesterday's demonstrations, we recorded at least 283 peaceful protesters whom police arrested. Some of those who were arrested, including journalists. What we witnessed yesterday was a reckless and brazen display of force by these regimes. They have militarized a peaceful protest that they should not have done. You saw the kind of firepower that was brought to the CBD. There were water cannons, bullets, tear gas, and guns. For what? In fact, one girl who is a 28-year-old was attacked by 22-year-old was attacked by 5 police officers. Another girl was dragged on the ground for some distance. Tear gas canisters were being thrown directly at people. We have before released a report with our partners saying that Kenya needs reforms on lethal crowd control weapons. And yesterday's actions by the police is a clear demonstration that these reforms needs to happen as soon as possible. Now, one of the peaceful protesters who was taken to hospital was attacked by several police officers who strangled him, pulled his dreadlocks, beat him to the ground with batons, and fired a tear gas canisters at his legs. He was held in police custody for hours without medical attention, and he was, in fact, among the last people who were released from the police custody and rushed to the hospital. We know of 3 protesters who are hospitalized, and 2 of them have been discharged. For those who were arrested, most of them were held at Central Police Station and Kamkunji police stations. And by the time human rights defenders were leaving this station, a majority of them had been released. But Chacha, here is the case. We are speaking, as human rights defenders, we are speaking about public participation. The government has, on countless occasions, failed to conduct meaningful public participation. In fact, this was one of the grounds the court declared several laws that Parliament passed as unconstitutional. What then this regime is doing is purely on a cosmetic front. They are hoodwinking us and try to cheat the judiciary. And I hope the court can read through their mischief. The regime anticipates that this bill will be challenged in court, Of course, it's going to be challenged in court because it is a bad law. And one of the grounds could be meaningful public participation. And this is where the mischief comes in. The regime the regime will come to tell the court, look, we held public participation and the views of Kenyans were considered. They said we remove eco levy, we remove taxes on bread, we remove motor vehicle tax, and many more, and we did it. But yet in reality, these are the taxes they put, knowing very well that they did not need them. In a choreographed way, they included the levies so that the public will overwhelmingly oppose them, and then they will remove them to lie to us that they listened. This regime does not listen to anyone except themselves. And sometimes I wonder whether they have the sound and right conscience. They should not lie to us. The bill is a bad one. It is not enough for the president and his party to call for a press conference at the State House and announce that they have removed contentious taxes. There is nothing good in this bill. The only solution is to drop the bill altogether. This regime is overtaxing us, yet the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has given media statements saying that corruption is still high. The regime must put our taxes into proper use. They must be accountable. The theft of public funds needs to stop. You cannot tax us prosperity. That one we refuse. Yesterday's demonstration is not the last one, and that one I can assure you. Even if Generation Z will not come out, other Kenyans will come out to oppose them. Export more Kenyans to pawn on the street. And we are putting police on notice. It cannot be that every time citizens exercise their constitutional rights, they are brutalized. Contrary to the law, we are going to hold them personally responsible. And it is not just the police officer who are receiving orders, but also those giving illegal directives must face the law. Because the doctrine of command responsibility makes it possible for us to go after police bosses who are giving illegal orders to their juniors. So it is time for police officers to stop issuing these illegal orders and their juniors in receiving them. They must let the people protest, picket, demonstrate, and submit their petitions. Some of these causes that we are agitating are also going to benefit the police.
Well,
and you wonder, why are they so brutal?
Well, Ernest, for the interest of time, thank you so much for your update as far as how many persons were arrested. 283 is the number. He's Ernest Connell, who is the Communication Officer, Kenya Human Rights Commission. At that juncture, we take a short commercial break. When we come back, I'll be sampling some of your feedback and, of course, more views on especially what next now that the contentious clauses have been scrapped off. How do we bridge the gap? We'll be right back with that discussion. Stay tuned.
Saturday morning won't be the same again.
Launch sequence activated.
Have a nice trip.